In the previous videos, you saw what XML is and how we use it to build screens with code. So do not panic when you see these bunch of lines of code. Let's simplify this file by deleting some stuff we don't focus on now. But first, let me switch to the presentation mode so that you can see better. And also I want to enable my preview pane. And let's hide these tool windows. Okay, now everything looks bigger and better. Let's start deleting some code. I will start by deleting the constraint attributes from this text view. Also, let's select this constraint layout and change it with linear layout. Constraint layout is a more advanced component that we won't be covering now. Lastly, let's remove this gray line. Gray and underlined text in Android Studio means it's not used, so it's redundant. We can safely delete this redundant line. If you did all of these, your activity main XML should look like mine. Also, what you see in the preview pane should be the same. As you might remember from the older lessons, this block of code represents a text view. It starts with the open corner bracket and ends with a slash and close corner bracket. So if you remove this block of code, you will notice that the text view has disappeared from the preview pane. If you put it back, the Hello World text comes again. In the previous classes, I mentioned you that every view in Android is represented by a rectangle. When you click on the view from the preview pane, you will see this rectangle. If we give this view a background color by adding another attribute to our text view tag, you can see the borders of this view even better. To add a new attribute, I will use the auto-completion feature of Android Studio. There are some suggestions here, but let's ignore them for now and use a color code. I will use #424242 as a background color. But now, I cannot see my text very well. So let's add another attribute to change the text color. I will write text color. And I will use #FFFFFF to make it white. So the text background is a dark gray and the text color is white. But what's going on here? What are those letters and numbers and how do they mean anything? This is called hexadecimal representation of an RGB color triplet, or in short, hex color codes. Of course, there is some theory behind it, but it's out of scope for our course, so I will skip the theory of how these letters and numbers describe colors to the computers and why, and we'll go directly into the useful part. How can we know the color code for a color we want? The answer is pretty easy. You just type color picker to your browser, and you can use the one Google provides, or you can pick a website that provides a color picker. So how this works is you can just look for the color you want and then look for the shade you like and copy the hex color code from here. But if you're not a born artist and can combine colors beautifully, I would suggest you to go and check material color palette. You can search for material colors online and go with a website here. Let's pick this one. I will copy this red color and will use it as a background color for my text. Okay, let's go back to Android Studio and paste the color code here. You'll notice that it goes red. Nice. Now that we can change the colors, let's also play with the size of this text view. The width and height of a view is mostly controlled by layout width and layout height attributes. If I go and change this value to 200 dps, you will see the width of the view changes. Also, let's set the view's height to 300 dps and notice that it grew bigger. Instead of giving this sort of fixed dimensions, you can use wrap content and match parent values here. Wrap content makes the view to shrink to fit its content, and match parent makes it expand until its parent's boundaries. Let's try those as well. I will make the layout width wrap content, and I will set match parent to the layout height. So now if we go and change the value for text attributes to say welcome to Android 50, you'll notice that the boundaries of this rectangle grow in this dimension because I set wrap content for the width. But height is always equal to the parent's height, which is the screen height here. Lastly, I want to use a bigger text size because when we change the width and height of the text view, it doesn't affect the size of the actual text. It's because we have another attribute controlling that, and that is text size. Let's use 32 SP for the text size to make it bigger. Okay, it looks bigger. I know you might be wondering why we're using SP and DP letters next to numbers to describe dimensions. Don't rush. We have a lot to learn and it cannot be done in a day or yet in a video. So see you in the new video to learn how to run this app and see these changes in our device or in an emulator. Are you ready to run your app and see it in live the first time? Great! Now let's see how can we run our app. There are two ways for running the apps we develop: emulators and real devices. The first way of running our app is using an emulator. An emulator is a special software that can behave like another computer system. For example, an Android emulator behaves like an Android phone. The emulator comes with the Android operating system and it also has some apps already installed. Android Studio provides us with a number of different device profiles. We can create emulators, or as Android Studio call it, Android virtual devices. Now let's create an Android virtual device using the Android Virtual Device Manager or AVD Manager. Go to Tools, AVD Manager, and you can see I already have some virtual devices. Go click the Create Virtual Device button if you don't have any. You will see a list of hardware profiles. I suggest selecting a modern profile with a good resolution and Google Play Store support. In my list, Nexus 5 seems to be good. You can also pick a different one in your list. After you select your hardware, you need to select a system image. If you haven't downloaded any system image before, you'll need some time and a good internet connection. First, download it, and then select the downloaded image system afterwards. My suggestion is again to pick a recent system image. Currently Oreo or Pi is good, also Q is good. But at the time you are following the course, most probably there will be more recent ones. You can go with one of those system images. You can name your virtual device here, like my test device or my emulator, or you can give it another name like Nexus 5 with Oreo. This kind of names you can give, and then click Finish. Now let's run our app in the emulator and see it the first time, select the device you created here and then press this green play button. Since this is the first time you're booting this device, it takes a longer time than usual. But the next time we boot this device, it'll boot faster. Since it takes a long time to boot a new device, I will use a previously configured device and run the app in this device instead. So here is our emulator and here is our app. So this is how we run our apps in an emulator. And as you can see, this is like an Android device. You can see the home screen and you can rotate it, so on and so forth. Now let's see our second approach, running our emulator in a real Android device. Firstly, we need to enable developer options in our device. This step can slightly differ from device to device, so you can look for the specific instructions for your brand. I will use my emulator here to show you how to enable developer settings in stock Androids. In stock Androids, you need to go to Settings and find an About Device menu. Here it is in System, About Emulated Device. And then find the build number here and tap 7 times to the build number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. After tapping 7 times, the developer options will be enabled. And you can see the developer options are enabled here. In other custom Android devices, like the one I have in hand right now, a Xiaomi Mi 9, you need to look for online documentation to find your way to the developer options. For this specific phone, I go to Settings and then About Phone, and then tap repeatedly to the MIUI version. After tapping again 7 times, it'll enable developer options. After doing this, you can go to the additional settings and then go into the developer options. The rest is similar in most of the devices. You need to go and unlock USB debugging and then go ahead and connect your data cable to your computer and allow USB debugging for your computer in your device. After you allow, you should be able to see your device name in the list of available devices. And you can run your app in your connected device. Great! Now that we can run apps, we can learn more on how to develop Android apps. Okay, now we learned how to run apps. It's time for us to move forward with learning more views in Android. So previously we saw TextView button and ImageView, but we haven't played with ImageView in detail. So in this video we're gonna do this. We're gonna play with attributes of ImageView and learn more about it. I created a new project and I also updated my Android Studio to 4.0. The UI changed a little bit, but the basics and fundamentals of it still remains. So we have still the same structure here. In this project, I have still a main activity class and an activity main XML file. So I again change this into a linear layout and also remove this text view because we're gonna play with image view. So let's start with creating a new image view. I'm gonna use autocomplete for that. We again still need to provide a layout width and a layout height attribute because, as you might remember from the earlier classes, for all of the views, layout width and layout height are required. You need to define these properties in order for Android to show a view on screen. Okay, so since image view, like a button or like a text view, since it's a view, it also has to define a layout width and a layout height attribute. For now, let's go with 300 dps for each. And after closing the XML tag, now we have an invisible but square image view on the top left corner of our screen. To make it more visible, let's give it a background using 000000 hex code, which is pure black. Okay, now it is more visible in this part. By the way, your preview might be different since your Android Studio might be different. You might not see it at all. If so, there might be a preview tab in the right, or if your Android Studio version is newer, there is these 3 tabs that allows you to switch between design, code, and split view. Okay, this is not that much important. The important portion is this part, because at the end, this file, this XML file, is what is defining the UI only, not these previews and such. Cool. So we already know these 3 attributes, width, height, and background. We already seen them. Now let's learn a new attribute, and that is SRC, meaning source. Okay, this is short for source. Source is the image you display in the image view. We have an image view here, but we are not displaying any image. We have a background, yes, but a background and a source are different things. Okay, so I need an image to display inside this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to unsplash.com, which is a very good website offering free to use images, and download one of these images depicting 3 people drinking coffee. Okay, so when I see download, it downloaded it, and here it is. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check the size of this, resolution of this image, and it is very big. I'm checking it because images I download from unsplash.com are usually very big in resolution, in dimensions, and this is way bigger than the size we want, because if we use this image with this big resolution, then it'll create some problems for us. First, if users are using our app in a low memory device, the image may not be displayed in their devices, and the app can crash. This is the first problem. Or second, since mobile devices nowadays are not that capable of displaying this big of an image, this is unnecessary space wasted on this particular image file, because we want our APK size, the app size, to be as small as possible, because then users can download it easily and without spending too much time and bandwidth. Okay, so to resize this, actually I'm going to use preview for that. I'm going to double click and open, and then go to tools, adjust size, and then I'm going to resize its size to about 30% and go ahead and save it. This looks small, I know, but when I zoom in, I haven't lost any details yet. Okay, this is good. Let me copy this file by pressing Command C, and I'm gonna paste it to res drawable. I come here and press Command V, okay, and select the drawable folder. We'll rename it as cafe_, image. Okay, so now that we imported our file into our project, we need to put this file into this image view. But how are we supposed to do that? src attribute is actually for that. Inside of this double quotes, I'm gonna put at and drawable / cafe image. Here it is. So at this notation, at symbol, is used to select one of these folders in resources. Okay, it's like putting a reference. So when I write at, you see there is this drawable, Android color, drawable, mipmap, and others. So since the file I'm trying to find is under drawable, I'm gonna type drawable, and then I'm gonna put the name without the extension, okay, which is cafe image. If you put the extension, it won't work without the extension. So the moment we put this reference into src, you can notice that the image is visible in our text view. But what is these black areas? Let me go back and delete this and realize that our image view has a black background color. Since our image view is square, 300 dps by 300 dps, and our image is not a square but a rectangle, it is the way Android displays this image inside. Okay, but we can change this, and to change how this image is displayed inside image view, we're gonna use scale type. Okay, so we have some options here. I'm gonna go over some of them. Let's start by center. When I put center, as you might notice, it centered our image without doing any resizing. If you put a small image in a big image view, it'll display the image right in the center. So let's say if we do 400 to 400, we can see a bigger portion, but still the image is centered. Okay, the next one is center crop. Center crop, as you might see, is now showing a bigger portion of the image, and this looks way better than the option center because it cropped the image and centered it. So now it cropped from the right and left to fit the image into a square, and then resized as well. No matter your image ratio, it'll always fill the image view, trying to show as much as it can. To see this better, let's change the image view size and see how center crop tries to adjust it. Let's change the width to 200 dps. Okay, we will see the center of the image still. This is great. Also, let's change the height to a much smaller value, say 80 dps. Okay, now again, it shows a meaningful portion of the image. For most of the cases, center crop will work for you. So you need to take a note of so you can take a note of this scale type. Center crop works for you for most of the cases. Let's change back the size to 300 by 300 dps. And let's use auto completion to check other options. I'm gonna press Ctrl space, and we have our menu here, and center inside. Center inside is the default scale type. So if you do not put center inside at all, it'll still be center inside. Okay, but this is also a good option for some cases. So after center crop, maybe center inside is the second most common. This is good if you want to show all of the image without losing any any portion, any area. And that means this might show the background of the image view. Now change it to the next one, which is fit center. It seems like nothing has changed because fit center and center inside works the same way for images bigger than image view. But it works differently for images smaller than the image view. Let's see this beautiful Stack Overflow.com answer to visualize the difference. So here is an example. Say we are using this image. When you do center inside and fit center, still they look similar. But if we use a large image view, center inside won't zoom in, won't scale this image up to fit the image view, okay? It'll stay as small as its original size. But fit center will zoom in at the cost of losing some quality, okay? It'll zoom in to fit the image to the image view's borders. This is the main difference between center inside and fit center. But it doesn't matter which one do you use if you are using an image which is already bigger than your image view. But in the other case, if your image view is big and your image is small, then it makes sense to differentiate between them because it'll produce different outputs. It's up to you which one to use. Lastly, I want to show you Fit XY. Fit XY is the option that stretches the image to make it fit to the image view boundaries. This is not commonly used, but just in case you need it, this is how you fit the image exactly to the image view. Let's say you have like very weird ratios like this, okay? It'll stretch the image to make it fit to the image view's size. Okay, that's all for this video. See you in the next one. Okay, you just learned a lot of information about image view, and I realized the video became a bit too long. But just to reinforce the information you just learned, I want to ask you a couple of questions. You can pause the video when I ask a question and then try to come up with the answer. If you cannot, no problems. You can always learn the answer or go back to video and watch the specific portion, okay? First question. Is image view a view? The answer is yes, it's a view. Second question. Are there any required attributes for image view? The answer is yes, there are. Layout width and layout height attributes are the required attributes for all of the view classes. Third question. What is SRC, meaning source attribute, doing for image view? The answer is using SRC or source attribute, you refer to the image file you imported into your project. SRC is for displaying images. Fourth question. How do you import an image into Android Studio project? Answer. You copy it and paste it into res drawable folder. Fifth question. How do you refer to the specific file in drawable folder? Answer is you use @drawable/image name without the file extension. Sixth question. What does scale type attribute do for image view? Answer. It changes the behavior of how image view displays the image, whether it stretches it or whether it centers it or whether it crops it. There are different values you can use. And last question. Do you need to memorize all of these values for attributes? answer. Definitely not. Please don't. You should not memorize anything, but you need to know information is available in specific videos. So when you need it, you can come back to the video, or you can search online to find the specific value. Let's say you are building an app and you need to crop your image inside your image view, but you don't remember which scale type value you need to use. What you need to do is, you should remember that there is one attribute, something called scale something, or something called type, and you need to first find this attribute online, searching Google or watching this video, and then you can read documentation about scale type attribute, and you can try and experiment which value for scale type is doing what, and then you will find the answer you're looking for. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.